What would it look like today if Nigeria had fully implemented the Aburi Accord under the military rule of General Yakubu Gowon? If you say Gowan was protecting the economic interest of the federal government, considering that Nigeria at that time depended largely on the oil-rich eastern region for most of its revenue, then how do you explain the unusually high poverty index in northern Nigeria today, irrespective of Gowon's jettisoning of the Aburi Deal? Has Gowon's good intentions benefited the millions of innocent northern Nigerians who have been subject to harsh economic conditions for several decades, as proven by the World Bank's Poverty Index? And was there actually a reason for such fears, considering the vast agricultural lowlands in northern Nigeria, plus the huge deposits of solid minerals such as gold, lithium, tin, and more, which are evidences that the North can be economically self-sufficient? And if you are one of those who consider Gowon's decision as an effort to preserve the unity and sovereignty of the Nigerian state, again, you have to face one of the difficult realities of the Nigerian state, which remains: has the insistence of a united Nigeria as viewed by Gowon and his cronies given birth to anything but a divided and economically struggling Nigeria today? Think about the damage brought by the Nigerian Civil War, not only with regard to the loss of lives and property, mental health, but also in terms of the incessant political unrest and agitations for self-determination that has continued to befall the Nigerian state ever since. Today, a major political debate among concerned Nigerians is whether the Aburi Accord, fully implemented as agreed by Gowan and Ojukwu, could have led to a more peaceful and economically prosperous Nigeria. And would the Igbos who occupy the southeastern geopolitical zone be happier today? Or would Nigeria have simply ceased to exist? And could it be that Gowon's decision at that time was compelled by the vested interest of a few political elites? Welcome to Politics and Power Play. Yakubu Gowon, who served as Nigeria's head of state from 1966 to 1975, holds a complex and controversial legacy, especially in relation to the Nigerian Civil War from 1967 to 1970 and the country's political structure. His leadership during the Civil War and his role in northern political dominance continue to be debated, particularly in light of tensions between the Igbo ethnic group and the Nigerian government. But why was the Aburi Accord not fully implemented as agreed in Ghana? Gowon's most controversial legacy stems from his role during the Nigerian Civil War, also known as the Biafran War. The war broke out in 1967 after the southeastern region of Nigeria, dominated by the Igbo ethnic group and led by Colonel Odumegwu Ojukwu, declared independence as the Republic of Biafra. The conflict was fueled by ethnic divisions, economic inequalities, and power struggles following Nigeria's independence from Britain. One of the key catalysts for the war was the failure of the Aburi Accord, a peace agreement negotiated in Aburi, Ghana in 1967 between Gowon and Ojukwu, with outcomes that has resulted in divergent views. While the majority from the north and perhaps the southwest view Gowon as a hero who preserved the unity of the Nigerian state, the Igbo community view Gowon's handling of the Aburi Accord as a betrayal. The accord had provided for a loose federation where regions would have significant autonomy without a secession. But will this plan have worked, or will it work in the Nigeria of today if implemented? Let me hear your opinion in the comments section below. Regardless, upon his return to Nigeria, Gowon failed to implement key parts of the agreement. Many Igbo people since then have continued to believe that Gowon, influenced by northern interests, reneged on the deal precipitating the civil war. The failure of Aburi is seen as a clear signal of the federal government's unwillingness to allow regional autonomy, which the Igbos saw as crucial after the pogroms of 1966 that targeted their community in the northern region. But what were the strong reasons why the Aburi Deal was largely jettisoned? Well, first, there were disagreements over its interpretation. While Ojukwu and the eastern region saw the accord as a pathway to regional autonomy, Gowan and the federal government, upon returning to Nigeria, feared it would undermine central authority and lead to the country's disintegration. Gowan, influenced by concerns about secessionist movements, especially in the eastern region, felt that full implementation posed a threat to Nigeria's unity. Also, northern political military elites, who had gained influence after the 1966 counter-coup, also resisted decentralization, fearing it would weaken their control and reduce their political dominance. The economic implications, particularly regarding oil control in the eastern region, further fueled federal resistance, as the central government feared losing access to vital oil revenues, which were essential for national development and maintaining authority. Trust between Gowan and Ojukwu had already deteriorated, and the failure to fully implement the accord reinforced Ojukwu's belief in the need for Eastern self-determination. Administrative and legal challenges in restructuring the civil service and military also complicated implementation, with the federal government citing impracticalities and calling for further review. This collective breakdown in communication, trust, and execution led to the accord's collapse and eventually the civil war. Ultimately, Gowan's tenure has continued to be faced with persistent criticism, with accusations that his leadership perpetuated northern domination in Nigeria's political landscape. Although Gowan is from Plateau State, which is in the Middle Belt and not strictly part of the northern Hausa Fulani bloc, he has been seen by many as being used by the northern elite to maintain their control over the country. His ascension to power was seen as part of a broader effort by northern military officers to retain their grip on Nigeria after the July 1966 counter-coup, which overthrew General Yakubu, the first Nigerian military head of state and of Igbo extraction. The creation of 12 states by Gowan in 1967 has as well been viewed by some as a deliberate attempt to weaken the Biafran secessionist movement by dividing southeastern region into smaller entities. This move was seen as aligning with the interest of northern politicians who benefited from the fragmentation of other regions while maintaining a united northern bloc. Additionally, Gowan's government introduced policies that favored the northern region in terms of political appointments and economic development. Even after his removal from office in 1965, many have continued to argue that the structures put in place under his regime contributed to the continued dominance of northern elites in key military and governmental positions. This has fueled a narrative that Gowan, whether willingly or not, was used as a tool to entrench northern control over Nigeria's political landscape. As a leader from the Middle Belt, Gowan's legacy in Jos is again somewhat mixed. While some see him as a symbol of national unity, others criticize him for not doing enough to address the specific grievances of his home region, particularly in the face of northern political dominance and the incessant political instability which Jos is now known for. The legacy of Yakubu Gowon are deeply intertwined with Nigeria's ethnic and regional tensions. His role during the Civil War, particularly in relation to the Igbo people and the failure of the Aburi Accord, has left scars that persist in Nigeria's collective memory. Investigative journalism has revealed the darker sides of his leadership during the war, including the humanitarian catastrophe that unfolded in Biafra. Moreover, his tenure contributed to the perception of Northern domination in Northern politics, a legacy that continues to shape the country's political landscape even today. As it stands, to many Igbos, Gowon's leadership represents a period of betrayal and suffering, while to others, particularly in the north, he is remembered as a leader who held the country together during its most trying time. His complex legacy will continue to be debated as Nigeria grapples with the lasting impact of the civil war, economic instability, and ethnic tensions. Thanks for watching, and if this is your first time on this channel, make sure to click on the subscribe and notification button for more robust and unbiased commentary on Nigerian politics.